Cool.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Success Podcast. I'm your host today, hanging out with a good buddy of mine here in Richmond, Virginia. You're going to absolutely love catching up with Alex Lugovoy, who is an amazing investor who I've known a long time and is going to share his story today, which I'm super excited about because he's scaled very, very quickly. Hey, everybody that's been leaving us comments, shares, reviews in iTunes, we greatly appreciate it. Thanks for the feedback to those that email me, text me, tell me that the podcast somehow impacted them and helped them take some steps forward. I really appreciate that as well. We got a great community with the Success Real Estate Podcast, and I'm really glad that you've hit subscribe. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on iTunes while you're working out or wherever you're at, is great to have you along. Today, you're going to be super encouraged about investing in assets that create cash flow and long-term wealth with a good friend of mine, Alex Lugovoy. Alex, welcome to Real Estate Success.
Thank you, Jim. Pleasure to be here. And I've been a big fan of yours for many years. And I really enjoy what you've accomplished yourself. So you're an inspiration.
Thank you. Can you move just a little bit closer to your microphone when you get a chance? It's a little hard to hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you. So yeah, you and I have known each other a long time through Daniel Clayman and the Richmond crew, of course. And of course, I met Daniel when I was wholesaling doing investor bus tours. And Daniel, I think, introduced us several years back, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, Daniel's a really good friend of mine. I think we traveled half of the world together.
Yes, and I can't go into those stories on my podcast.
That's right.
This is G-rated. I'm just saying. So,
long time ago, we had a good time.
Yeah, good time for sure. You both changed now because you both have wives and kids and families, and a whole ton of freaking real estate between the two of you. So when we first met, you were like really doing well in corporate America. But corporate America was also driving you sort of crazy. I mean, you had a really great job. What were you doing back then?
So I was head of business development and merger acquisitions for a pharmaceutical company. You could say that I was a rapidly progressing and up the corporate ladder. I have a Ivy League MBA, and I came into I went to Richmond, Virginia for what was a great job. I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and I was responsible for global acquisitions, which would take me to Europe, to Japan, all over the United States, San Francisco, and all my classmates from Columbia Business School that I finished were like, wow, this guy is really moving and shaker in the corporate world.
It all looked good on paper, didn't it?
My resume was amazing. I mean, I could send it to anybody, and they would probably want to talk to me.
Yep. But I mean, but you weren't satisfied, right? Because somebody else was like saying, go do this acquisition, go to Europe. You're gone all the time working international business, correct?
My life wasn't mine, right? I mean, I could literally get a phone call on Tuesday and Wednesday I'm on a plane, or Tuesday morning, worse yet, getting on the plane to go into London or going. And basically, it was lots of travel. It wasn't fun travel because I'd go from one hotel to the next. And also a lot of my decisions, so I would work 80 to 90-hour weeks, evaluate a pharmaceutical company that was great acquisition potential, and I'd go in front of the board of directors, and depending on what they felt that morning, or what they had for breakfast, or what mood they were, they would shut down like literally 2 months of bone crushing work, right? 80, 90 hours a week to say, oh, that's good work, Alex, but we're just, for whatever reason, we don't want to do this, right? And there was a lot of times where I'd feel so frustrated because I would do, you get emotionally involved in these deals.
Yeah.
And it was just, I felt like one of those mythical creatures that gets the rock up the mountain just so it falls down. And you go to get the rock back up. That was my corporate America. Well, I mean, there was a few times that I did do amazing deals, and they were very beneficial to my employer. But there was a few amazing deals that I felt like my employer should have done, and they turned out to be just amazing. I mean, there was a few companies, I'm not going to name them, that became a really successful blockbuster products and companies that I was like, wow, we could have gotten it for, for nothing, right?
Mhm.
Pennies on a dollar. And it is with that I felt, well, I mean, I almost had like a little bit of a sub-depression, I would say, because I worked so much and a lot of it was outside of my control. So what was all my hard work was for, and then I started looking around and saying, what else is there, right?
So, and that's when you started. I mean, how did you end up in real estate? Did Daniel or somebody say to you, like, instead of buying these pharmaceutical companies, why don't you just start buying some houses, Alex? I mean, how did you end up there?
Yeah, so as much as Daniel likes to take credit for everything, I think in this one,
That's
no,
what friends do.
that's right. That's what best friends do. But I met Daniel after I already got into real estate. We're actually bidding on the same house together. And then
Awesome.
after we realized, and of course, we're from the same or similar countries. We're from the former Soviet Union. We have similar stories, came here at similar ages. So we kind of clicked. I was dating a girl at that time, and her family was in real estate, and so she said, "Hey, my family, my dad is doing well. This is what he's doing. Have you ever considered?" I said, "No, I never even owned a house." Now, remember, I'm from New York City. I have never, I couldn't afford to even buy a little closet, right? Let alone. So, and when I came to Richmond, I was renting for years because that's kind of what us New Yorkers do. We rent. We don't do anything else. And said, why don't you take a look into real estate investing? I said, well, I should probably buy my own home first, right? But at the same time, I started going to real estate investor meetings, and there meeting people and meeting wholesalers. There was a guy named Sam Perry who Sam Perry Realtors. The guy was 84 years old. He
I know.
was, you know him, right? So
I do. Yeah.
I met him at the RIA meeting, and he was the one who bought me my first investment property. He told me he bought his first property in 1954, and I said, "Wow, if somebody was buying,
Long time ago, man.
that's a long time ago." And it was like, if somebody's buying properties for that long, they know a thing or two. I asked him kind of, guide me through, and that was really important because I knew nothing, right? I didn't know anything what I was doing. He bought me a distressed property. He helped me get the contractor. Of course, I put up all the money and renovating. At that time, I still had a full-time job, so I had to, learn a lot, right? And so it became a second full-time job, learning renovation, learning real estate investment.
Mm-hmm. So Sam Perry is a cool guy. He's done a lot of really creative real estate deals over the years as well. I didn't know that you two even knew each other, but that is awesome. So you bought that first one, and how did it go, your very first one?
Well, first ones are always rough, right?
Yes, that's why I asked.
First one, you never forget your first one, right, Jim?
I do.
It was a distressed property. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, which is great because I was up for, getting a PhD from the School of Hard Knocks. So I was renovating. I was working with the GC. Half the time he wouldn't show up. The other half the time he would show up for about a couple hours. And so it took a lot longer than I planned to. But with a lot of perseverance, which I've learned, through both corporate America experience and
Right.
the street, we came to the finish line. It took a little bit longer. I was planning renovation to take 2 months. It took 6 months, but
Mm-hmm.
done. And in those 6 months, I got a PhD in managing subcontractors, getting contracts signed, and holding people accountable.
I love the way you worded that. That is awesome. And so, do you still own that house, or did you end up selling it?
So that was the only that was the only house that I sold. I bought it in an area that was, let's just say, was tough to rent in, right?
Yes,
Uh,
Gaia.
I finished the renovation, so it took me 6 months, and I came back the day after just to find like 10 homeless people in there, right?
Gotcha.
I called the police, all the homeless people ran away, and I said, it's probably better for me to sell this one.
Right.
Right?
Good idea.
Yeah.
So then you started buying, and I remember all the years you're like, I don't like to sell things. You liked building assets that created cash flow and legacy, really multi-generational wealth and equity. And so you just started like buying. It was almost like watching somebody play Monopoly. It's like you took this greenhouse, you took that one. I'll take Bird Park. I'll take the Randolph area.
Yeah.
Anything in this zip code is mine, right?
Yeah. Well, what happened is, well, that's not initially. I would say that came up with this, this amazing strategy from the beginning. But what really happened is I bought a 4-unit complex, and I was looking for myself to live in, and it just turned out that I bought a 4-unit complex, realized that I could live in an apartment, which remember I'm from New York, rent the other 3 apartments,
Right.
and actually make a cash flow. Then the owner of that quad said, hey, this is like 2010, 2010. He said, hey, I also have a duplex in the same block. Would you want it? And, I did the numbers, and the numbers came out great, right? I didn't know how to do the numbers by being in business development. So we put that duplex on the contract. Now I own 6 units in the same block. And I said, well, this is actually really good numbers. Of course, I've upgraded them, renovated them. I always, by the way, did value add, which is like
Right.
the property I'd renovated. And I said, is there anything else out there? And yes, there were. There were foreclosures up the Zoom. And I would say at that point, Randolph was 25 to 30% boarded up, right?
Wow.
Right?
Looking back, it's hard. Looking now, it's hard to believe.
Yes, that's right. Because now it's this gentrified neighborhood. People are moving from great area. It's by the river. There's a park. But I would say, because I live there, I would actually say that I cared about the neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by caring about neighborhood, I would walk through and I would see hypodermic needles in the ground. There's like guys selling, crack on the corner. There was all this different stuff that's going on. And so, a lot of people are going to talk about mission-based investment. I'd say by pure, by accident, I approached this from a mission-based, which is I want to change the neighborhood that I live in. I don't want crack on the corner or hypodermic needles. And the way to do it is to take these abandoned, boarded up houses where people, after they buy the drugs, go to take, to use the drugs inside these abandoned houses. I would find out who owns those properties, buy the house, and fully renovate it up to the standards of my standards. A nice neighborhood, put up the dishwasher, the washer dryer, like that, and then rent them to individuals, and then pay the taxes, right? So what happens is as you start to take one board-up house, then the next board-up house on the same block, now it's valued, both houses get valued more after you finish them, right? And the neighborhood goes up, improves. So little by little, I started improving Randolph and the neighborhood where I lived in that I was passionate about. So to me, it gave me, let's just say it gave me perseverance to keep going through a lot of the mistakes that I've done, a lot of general contractors that try to lie to me and rip me off and all of that stuff.
Oh, that stuff never happens. It doesn't on HGTV. It doesn't in real life. We know that.
Yeah. Well, let's just say there was a lot of nice, evenings that I was going to chasing after the plumber, make sure that he's finished, and eating rice and beans. So, everybody in investment, as HGTV likes to say, it's easy. It's in a half an hour show. You put together a full renovation, a gut job.
Right.
Right? It takes hard work, perseverance, but it's kind of like, you're kind of like an author. You hate writing the book, but at the end, after you've done it, you look back and you see what you accomplished. And then I've done it one house at a time, but then I sit back right now and the neighborhood is just at a different, like your daughter.
Beautiful.
Your daughter bought a property in the neighborhood, and as you can see, it's night and day. I mean, I wouldn't now. I see couples holding hands, walking around in the evening in there. People pushing baby carriages. This would never happen in like
Right.
6 ago when I moved in.
Millennials jogging, walking dogs. Yeah, it's unreal, isn't it?
Exactly.
And you really had a huge impact on that neighborhood. So congratulations. And that is what zip code again?
23220.
Which I think should be renamed ALEX. Alex, I got it. Because you really zeroed in on that micro niche and you said, that is my territory, man. And you wanted every house in that area. And that's how you started building it, right? Because you went to the realtors, the wholesalers, everybody else and said, anything in that zip code, bring to me.
That's
Did that
right.
work pretty well?
And I think what happened is, remember, I had a full-time job for the first 3 years of
Wow.
real estate. So I worked, 70 hours a week on a pretty demanding business development, merger and acquisition position, where I was basically a pharmaceutical executive. And so I couldn't actually chase after the houses, go there to the living room, do the stuff that wholesalers do. So what I want to do is I want to brand myself and say, hey, if you find something in realtors, wholesalers in 2320, I'm a strategic buyer here. I'm trying to change this area, and I would pay more than other investors. And so it kind of branded me in 23220 as the end buyer in a neighborhood. And I would love to buy distressed houses. Of course, I couldn't afford to buy retail, but distressed houses, put in the kind of value add that I feel like my standards, which is nice kitchens, always dishwasher, washer dryers, and then rent them out, and therefore improving the neighborhoods around 23220.
And that's really worked out really well. And now you've got like this large triple digit portfolio. And how many years did it take you to get to where you're at?
So I started the first purchase I did in 2010, and we're sitting in 2009. And yeah, we have over 120 roofs, some multifamilies. So we have altogether, we have over 150 units. And now we have a property management company, a construction company. And, we take it with responsibility. I mean, we're stewards. We live in the community that we serve. I go to community meetings. I listen to the community. I now it comes to a partnership approach with the community. Of course, as landlords have, let's say, sometimes not a good name in
Right.
There's a saying called the slumlord, right? Which somebody just puts in anybody they can and don't upkeep the property.
Those are the people I like to buy from, but I don't want to be one.
Exactly. Well, first of all, that I hate those people, right? And
Remember at my boot camp, Michael Zuber said there's a special place in hell for slumlords.
That's right. But before they go to hell, I would like for them to sell me their property so I can actually do it the right way.
Right. Me too. I love buying houses from totally burned out landlords who didn't have a clue what they were doing, none whatsoever. So now you've got this amazing portfolio, and I guess I can't believe how many roofs and doors you have. You've done so good for so long. Are you still in the acquisition mode?
So I'm always, my business, I'm mission driven now, right?
Yeah, love it.
And I'm still in 2320. I'm still doing exactly the same thing that I started, 9 years ago?
Yeah.
In 2010, which is buy properties that are dilapidated or mismanaged and make them into homes for somebody who can enjoy it, right? And so we have, and I'm building, a team. I'm building a property management team. I'm building a construction team. In order to provide that kind of product. Like, look, was I always perfect in the beginning? There's some properties where I might have been that like slumlord, right? But I've learned, right? And
Right.
I said, look, my mission is to improve the lives of my renters, right? And take the houses that are maybe dilapidated, maybe the person's not paying the taxes, fully renovated, and rent them out to people. So I sat down with my leadership team a couple of days ago, and we said, you know, what do we want to be when we grow up? And we're like, well, we want to be the Better Living Company, right? Now that we have that number of units, we want to kind of, you know, we want now we could really make a change in it.
So do you like being a landlord?
Um, I I like it. So I like being the visionary, right? So the landlord is landlording your stuff, right? And the reason landlording your stuff, you're the kind of guy who's going there with to drain the toilet at 11 at night, at 2 in the morning. Who likes that, right? So what I have is I've set up a property management company, and now my property managers are the ones who do that. And my job is to train the property managers to actually do the right thing, right? Do the right thing by the tenants, do the right thing by, and so I enjoyed that. I enjoy working with people and being an influencer of these people to do the right thing. Because when I was a landlord, and I was a landlord for a long time, for many years, right? In terms of right? Like the traditional landlord. I feel like there's two types of landlords, right? There's the landlord that actually does the work themselves, and then there's a landlord that actually has a property manager, works with through a property manager, and that's the kind of landlord that I want to be. Yeah, it's less headache, more mission based. You know what I mean?
Love it. So when I think of what you're telling me, like I keep thinking back to like the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki talks about. You know, you can be an employee, you can be self-employed, you can be a business owner, you can be an investor. And I think the two best quadrants are business owner and investor, and you've really rallied yourself into those two quadrants big time. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. With many years of just really hard work, and it took me a while to realize, wow, I can actually work through people a lot better than I can work on people. And if I want to scale up and actually spend some time with my family, my wife, my kids, I can't possibly manage that many number of units.
No, I agree with you. So you recently, just last month, you came to my boot camp, and after the boot camp, we talked, and it was really encouraging to hear your takeaway from that. And we've known each other a long time. Could you share a little bit about the boot camp?
So first of all, thank you for having me in the boot camp. I actually had expectation of, it's going to be a lot of newbies, and I'm going to and I was surprised at the kind of people that would show up to boot camp. People that have been doing real estate for a decade longer than I have, right? I've been doing almost a decade, and the reason is the people that actually need this the least, like they know what they're doing, are actually the ones who are going the most, because they always are looking to improve, right? If you're not looking to improve constantly and learn more and learn from people who are who have a different experience than you, then you're not really a business owner, right? You're just trying to kind of fly by the seat of your pants, right? And so I took my whole management team. I took my property manager, I took my finance, my bookkeeper, and they've learned a tremendous amount. And we came back, and that was a great investment to me as a business owner. When talking about the quadrant, it's important for the business owner to develop their team, right? And so now I'm thinking about, okay, how can I develop a team? And it's thankfully there are people like you who put on these boot camps and who really give to the community. I mean, it must be your mission, but you're amazing at it, Jim.
Well, but the people that come to that are amazing. They inspire me. You inspire me, Alex. You know, Fuquan is managing $40 million of debt. That's a big no business. You know what I mean? And there are other people that own as many units as you do. You know what I mean? And we can all share and we can all learn and encourage each other. I love it too. What were a couple of the ideas that you may have taken away from that? Anything in particular you can think of? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, no problem. No. So one of the things is we're going to put together, go out, and instead of just going through wholesalers and realtors, is we're going to go out and do an outreach campaign to, so believe it or not, we don't have an acquisition person or team. It was always me talking to realtors and wholesalers. But in order for us to achieve our mission, which is improve 23220, lower the number of slumlords, why don't we just go out and reach out to the slumlords, reach out to the dilapidated houses, and talk to them. And so that's a big takeaway for me. And I've learned a lot of amazing ideas from your boot camp. Max Maxler, who's like, I mean, that wholesaler, he's in another league, right?
Yes, Max Maxwell is awesome. And okay, last question, so I got to respect your time here. I helped my daughter buy a house in your zip code. Oh. But all your properties are helping her, and her property is really nice, and she's doing really well with it. And I just wanted to share that with you. So thanks for allowing us into the ALEX zip code there with our family.
Listen, let this be the last one that you spice me. Please, please give me a call next time you see something 2320.
I'm so happy for my daughter. She's doing really well. She used to live right near there also on Mulberry Street. And so it's been really good. But so thanks for letting our family like sort of into your zone there a little bit. I promise we will fulfill your mission and always maintain the property to the best.
Daughter, she's gonna be amazing. She's an amazing landlord. The property that she did is absolutely beautiful, and anybody who lives there is probably going to be absolutely grateful. And anybody that is in my mission is a colleague of mine, right?
And so she's getting ready to turn 27. She's still she works at the hospital downtown, and I hope this is just the first of many assets for her. Probably the last one in your zip code. They're hard to get, but it's all good, right?
We have a big zip code. There's plenty to share. Yeah.
So do you have any, last question, do you have any advice for somebody who's nervous about developing assets, being a landlord, worried about financing? You know, how do you get over some of those mental blocks and fears to get rolling?
One is education. I mean, boot camps that you like yours, Jim, is absolutely essential. I mean, remember mine, like you didn't have your boot camp yet. I think you started a few years ago, but when I started, my boot camp was Santerre, right? He basically spent hours talking to me about how things work, right? So it's always nice to have a mentor. I mean, I start with a mentor. I always recommend others to be a mentor. I mean, I'm kind of now paying it forward to a few individuals who are starting out, and I'm also a mentor to my team, right? I mean, my goal now is to get people like my team into your boot camp and into other training opportunities like that.
Sure.
Develop them along, like I was developed into the space. And if you look at all the successful investors, they really invested in their education, whether it be boot camp or YouTube.
Well, I really appreciate your sharing. Congratulations to you. I mean, that's a lot of roofs and a lot of doors, and your team is strong and courageous and really kicking butt in your zip code for sure. So it's really nice to have you on today, my friend, and we'll look forward to catching up with some lunch or something really soon.
Looking forward to it, Jim. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. I hope you go back and listen to this again. Take action on what you learned from Alex today. Build out the life that you want and that you've always dreamed of. Make it happen with no excuses. Carve out the path you want. And an easy way to do it is just by buying and holding assets that create cash flow for your generation and beyond if you want. And the equity will come as just the icing on the cake. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Real Estate Success.